Here at Skyscraper Offices, we need more room. Pretty cramped in here. We've got a lot of stuff, personnel crawling around everywhere. We need to get bigger space, bigger offices, and we need your help because we don't have enough room to put the arcade machine in here. I mean, can you imagine what it would be like to have it right there? That would just be terrible. I need more space. We need to tear out this wall and get bigger. So we're asking for your donation to help us make this a bigger space.
Call 555-201411262747891735794928161111119 to donate to Tech Syndicate now. What's up, everybody? Hi! It's a different day. We're gonna release this on a different day. Hope it didn't mess up your schedule. Should we? What date should we release this? Tomorrow on Wednesday, or should we do it on Friday? It's middle of the night.
No, we should
right
totally
now.
release it on Wednesday, and we should like pretend like we're gonna have a Clips episode on Thursday. But no, we're not. We're gonna be totally checked out.
I don't know. We did have that. There might be an episode on Thursday. There may be. Who knows? It might just be me here. Wearing a wig and never mind.
I'm gonna be passed out on tryptophan. I don't know what you're talking about.
And I'm drinking bootleg fireworks. If anybody is curious, because Lord Reekris. Speaking of Lord Reekris, they're going to be having coffee in outer space thanks to a couple of companies from Italy. You know, this is an espresso machine, and I figured it would be a couple of companies from France working on that, but no, it's Italy. I guess Italy and France are like the two big places you go to for coffee in the world. Maybe New York these days too. I don't know. Montreal. I don't know what the coffee capital is. It's probably now somewhere like India. We just don't know it yet. Anyway, it's kind of cool. They've got coffee in outer space now. It's just a system that allows you to brew from a pod into a bag, and then you drink it with a straw. So drinking your hot coffee with a straw. The one real bummer is, you can make espresso or whatever, but you can't make a cappuccino because you can't make the foam because the gravity's not there. So that's really sad, man. Can you imagine those guys out there in space, how they just long for a cappuccino while they're sucking on their espresso? It's just like, so sad.
Any open container with a liquid in it is a bad idea in space because lack of gravity.
Well, not only that, the gravity, I guess, won't allow the foam to form correctly. So.
Oh, yeah, well, that too. I just meant the liquid in general.
Yeah. Some can be fun, though. All right, oh, this is amazing. Popular Electronics, all these old magazines. Let's open up one from 1955 here. Just open this up. They're all available online now on PDF, so get out your e-readers and have a bit of freaking fun, would you?
Popular Electronics. Every issue, all the way back. I mean, that's like, I don't know, a bunch of years.
Wow, these things used to have words in them. Remember when books or magazines used to have words? And I haven't seen one trashy advertisement yet. I'm sure there's some. I want to see some advertisements. I mean, I'm looking at all this stuff.
Skip to like 1981.
Okay, we're going to 1981 real quick. We're going to see what's going on in the 80s. All right, 1981. All right, there we go. August. Or no, I mean April. I'm sorry. All right, what's going on? Speed control for synchronous motors. An oscilloscope buyer's guide. Wow, this is great. Let's give me an advertisement. Oh, there we got the Blues Brothers. Oh yeah, look at that Laserdisc ad from the Blues Brothers. That is, oh, that's some good stuff right there.
Input. Wee, wee.
I'm enjoying this too much. We should move on with the show. Oh, hey, how about that? It's our friends over at Linus Media Group. So, they're running a thing right now where they're trying to get a new office, and in order to do that, they're asking you guys for some money so that they can move out of the office. Because look at them all here; they're freaking cramped. Look at these guys. They're sandwiched in the room. They can't even afford air conditioning. You know, Wendell, I thought Linus was doing really well. I just saw him, like Josh from Fractal paid him to wear that wig and sing My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard and all that. And then he paid him to eat a banana and some meatballs and all these. I thought he was getting some just mad money from all that stuff. I had no idea he was this broke, but I wonder what happened to all his money. Do you have any ideas where it could be? I mean,
nope.
He's got to be making a ton. You know what? I know what we should do. We should ask Agent Beard. I bet he'll know what happened to his money.
Well, that's right, Logan. It seems he made $2.4 million last year yet. Huh. Seems he spent the majority of it trying to buy off government officials to make badminton a national sport? People still play this? Well, it seems now he owes a loan shark a lot of money, and I think part of this fundraiser will be used for that. But I don't know who the loan shark is.
Didn't you just give Linus like a large sum of money for a gambling bet that he lost? Wasn't he like supposed to pay you back?
No, I don't know anything about that, and neither does Vinny.
I'm pretty sure it was the exact amount he's looking for right here on the.
I know nothing about that.
I'm pretty sure that that's where this money's going. That robot bird that you built, and then you said you lost it. That looks like almost identical to the bird in Linus's badminton video.
Center to play some badminton, and one of my fellow players pointed out to me that there's actually a bird in the gym.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait a second.
I don't have it. It's on a mission. It's gone. It's not here.
Wait a minute. This is all making way too much sense.
No. Stop putting things together. Leave them taken apart.
And we really need a new office, too. This place is more cramped. We have fewer people, but still.
Well, it's either going to be a new office or a new trophy for my trophy wall.
New trophy for sure. Unless you have a gambling problem with trophies, then we can get in some trouble. I bet you this trophy is cooler than, I don't know. How would you have gamble with? I don't even know where I'm going.
I really don't think it would bring very much on Pawn Stars. You know, like the mounting or whatever. It's like it's on Pawn Stars. It's like, oh look, it's a one of a kind. And the Pawn Stars guy would be like, nope, I'm not even gonna touch this.
Wow. All right. So in all seriousness, dude, I didn't know you needed the money. I'll help you buy a new thing. Just you'll have to come work for me. I'm gonna leave it alone right now.
By the way, fun with that. We're still dirt poor. Just so you guys know.
Oh,
but we're having a lot more fun.
We're doing just fine. I mean, we're okay. We'll find.
We don't have a staff of 7.
Yeah, that's the thing. And we also, Linus has kids. You know, he's got those are his kids right there. Linus has like run around and turn over flower pots and puke in the floor. He has those kind of kids. You know, the kind that scare the hell out of me. So, yeah, he's got all that stuff. It's a money machine, man. You got to feed that thing. It's rough. So yeah. Anyway. We should do a thing for an office soon. I really did think those marketing dollars would have paid for it, but yeah, we should do that. You know something funny today, Wendell, before I looked at this? It's been kind of stressful around here because we don't have a dedicated office. We have way too much stuff in this tiny, like, it's like 10 foot by 8 foot square, you know, square room, 10 by 8 foot square. I went to school in America. So we've got like no room in this place. And we were online looking at different offices because I was pulling my hair and I was like, you know what, I've just got to get an office because it's just too stressful and I keep trying to work at home. But yeah, and then we saw this and I was like, huh, didn't even know you could ask the audience for those sort of things when you have marketing dollars coming in. It just feels weird, I guess.
Or you know, you could just get a bigger place and just make the basement the office.
Well, that's the idea. We got a bigger place here. And now we need a bigger place because Albert is getting every product known to man. He's like, hey, let's just, every vendor ship us everything. So now we've got stuff like this floating around. I can't wait to review this 360 Rad, but we've got like 90 cases that come in. And I'm like, Albert, I don't have a living room anymore. So stop requesting products, please, because I need a living room. It's fun. It's been ridiculous. Anyway, I think that's enough ridiculousness. Let's get back to the seriousness at hand. There we go. Close those things.
It would be kind of fun to have a tech frat house, and we could have, you know, traveling people stay in rooms in the frat house. It's like those Google Fiber houses where, you know, like startup companies move in and you lease the room for like a month or 2 months or 6 months or whatever to get your startup going, and then you get the hell out.
You know, Kane has been talking about this for a long time, but he's been talking about it more in like the Fight Club style, you know. But yeah, that'd be kind of fun. And then, you know, maybe some of them would end up sticking around and becoming employed and all that sort of thing. We should just start our own little city somewhere or an island. That'd be the great thing. We could have our own internet infrastructure. We'd have to tie it into, you know, somewhere. We'd have to peer with somebody, but still, we could have all that, you know?
You got to do it somewhere that's got gigabit internet for cheap.
Yeah. Or we can make our own gigabit internet and just figure out where to tie in, build it close to somewhere that there's a nice line to tie into.
Yep.
All right. Guess who else is broke? Speaking of broke, Kim.com says he is officially broke. And you know what? I feel like this may be some kind of a publicity stunt. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe Kim.com is doing this so that he can ask his fans to help him get a bigger mansion.
Well,
See,
his
I'm onto
lawyers
this
did
guy.
quit, and that's a pretty dangerous game of chicken to play at this point.
Yeah. So he's got no lawyers anymore. He's still in a lot of trouble. He's got the USA trying to, I guess, they're trying to have him brought to the USA for charges, but he's never been to the USA, so that's kind of interesting. He didn't seem too bad in this. I watched a little bit of this video here, so yeah, he's kind of broke. Interesting. I don't know where this is going. Let's move on. The White House, they've admitted that they still have parts of SOPA in place, and they want to make streaming a felony. Now, it's interesting here because if you read what they're saying with their mouths, it's a little bit different than what the wording on the paper is. Now, what they say with their mouths is like, hey, listen, we're not really out there to go after people who have some music playing in the background, or they do a cover song at a bar, or they're just putting some work on Tumblr or something like that. What we're really trying to do here,
they do all of those things.
Yeah,
all of those
weird.
things actually happen. Like in fact, the recording industry actually pays people to go into a bar and listen if the radio is playing, and then harass the owner of the bar to pay a license fee for having said radio on in the background. These are things that actually happen today.
Well, yeah, they're trying to be relaxed and groovy about it and say, look, listen, we're not going to really worry about that kind of stuff. And what we're really trying to do here is cut down on the people who are streaming like major broadcasts to millions of people, and they're also doing it habitually over, just all the time, streaming stuff, copyrighted content. They want to stop those guys, but I mean, they can say those things, but these laws can be used by the MPAA, the RIAA, and other different entities to abuse people who are even maybe streaming to Twitch or Hitbox or something like that. That's how the laws are worded, and it's a little bit troubling because they can say whatever they want. Put it in writing.
I'm gonna take a harder line with this.
All right.
And the problem in America is that everything under the sun is a felony, and a felony is serious business. If you look 100 years ago at the things that were felonies, it was like cattle rustling, stealing somebody's horse, murder, rape, that kind of thing.
Well, when you say that, you have to also remind people, because someone's like, stealing a cow, that's no big deal. Back then, cows were worth like half as much as their house, and that was their livelihood. So if you steal someone's cow, you steal one or two of their cows, they have no milk, they can't make cheese, they can't run their business, it just destroys them. And then let's say you steal a cow that is never mind. It's a huge deal. It's a big deal. It's like stealing somebody's car or worse.
Crime. Look, I mean, you don't even have to look at it on the microscopic scale. You can look on a macroscopic scale. And so in America, serious crime of the last 50 years has declined dramatically. But the incarceration rates, the number of people that are in jail, has gone up dramatically. A felony is a serious business. Even after you serve your time and get out, it follows you around. A lot of the time, district attorneys use felonies as you are in jail for 90 days because they're trying to sort out the paperwork and whatever it is they're going to charge you with, and the DA will come to you and be like, all right, you plead guilty to a felony, time served, blah, blah, seems like a good deal. But you get out and then you can't get a job anywhere because felony, and that follows that follows you around for quite a long time. So this is a real problem in America. A felony is a very, very serious problem, and even after you've served your time, it follows you around and makes it very difficult for you to get employment. And because of the wide spectrum of felonies, not a lot of people are educated on exactly how that works. And so it ends up sort of making things worse for the person who got a felony. And this is a very disturbing thing. And, it's a really messed up thing. And we as citizens ought to be more informed about this kind of thing so we can be like, hey, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. Because what's going to happen is, the Jamie Thomases of the world, that person who got a $600,000 civil settlement, those kind of things are going to come up as felonies, and then it becomes a federal issue, and the federal law enforcement capabilities that we have now, which are militarized in a lot of cases, it's going to go nuts. This is very, very bad for America. This is,
you're going to have people kicking people's doors down over streams.
Yeah,
it'll be the real form of swatting.
Not that not that streaming copyrighted material or anything like that is okay, but this is, the punishment's got to fit the crime. And this is lunacy. It is absolute lunacy. It would be like making, taking bread from a grocery store a felony. These are the types of issues that should be solved on sort of the local and community level. They're not things that the federal government should be involved in. That is crazy to invite the federal government into these kind of issues.
Well, let's lighten up a little bit here and take a look at this map of the USA in regards to what people eat on Thanksgiving. These are like strange, unusual, popular Thanksgiving foods from each state. If you are not from the USA and you do not celebrate Thanksgiving, well, what's going on? This is what people eat here in the country. I'm actually not celebrating this year. I'm kind of happy about it. I always try to use my Native American-ism as a scapegoat, and people always invite me places, but this year I actually got out of it. I don't have to do anything. It's interesting. I'm not even gonna, not one bite of turkey shall be had. I mean,
I'm
maybe
not a
I'll
people
have
person either, in case you hadn't gathered.
Yeah, you're gonna be going back over to the family and all that.
There's some things will happen. It'll be fine. I mean, there's that kind of thing. I don't really mind, but it's just I'm not really a people person. It's like, oh, let's go do stuff, and it's like, or quiet reflection. Either one.
I tell you what's going to happen. You're going to walk in the door, and they're going to be like, oh, thank God. Listen, we're still working on the mashed potatoes. This laptop, it's really slow, and we're getting some pop-ups. And I think so and so went to a website and did something. I don't know, but it takes like 20 minutes to start. Can you look at it? And you're going to look at it, and it's going to be like a 386. Yeah.
Last year, I replaced some voltage regulators in a television.
That was your Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, it's a distraction. It's this sort of understanding that my relatives and I have. It's like he's going to be bored out of his mind if we don't come up with something for him to do. So it's like, oh, look, there's a pile of crap I can fix. Woohoo!
So it's almost like a saving thing for you. Like, oh, thank God I don't have to go in there and chit chat. Now I get to mess with this.
Conversation is so
wild.
Tedious. I don't understand.
Maybe it's just the small talk. I don't know. I want to know what you guys have to fix this Thanksgiving. So when you're, over at your family's houses or whatever, what do you have to fix? Really, really curious. All right, moving right along here. This is broken, Wendell. The cipher machine is jammed. Let me see if it opens up again. Oh, it doesn't work. Well, if you guys want to go to 146.148.62.204, you can thank us later. It's a little cipher machine that's kind of a bit of fun. It won't work. Keep reloading it. Oh, come back later and crank it up. Yeah, it's dead right now.
It's one of those Google links that's like, you want a job? Figure it out.
If you figure it out, you'll probably have like the NSA knocking on the door like, hi, would you like a job? You can come work for us.
Or Google.
Yeah, or Google. All right, let's talk about super Wi-Fi for just a little bit, because a lot of the old spectrum that used to be used for over-the-air television stuff, not really being used anymore, and so they're mostly auctioning it off to different ISPs and telecommunications companies, cable companies, and that sort of thing. But there's a group of scientists out there that's saying, hey, listen, that stuff is a nice low wavelength. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world, but why don't we take that and reallocate it for use as just ubiquitous Wi-Fi? So there'll be Wi-Fi everywhere you go. Yeah, it'd be a pretty interesting solution to the problem of, web access not being everywhere. I don't know if they'll do this or not, but
is the range. So these frequencies, actually, this was originally part of the 96 Telecommunications Act. Who knew?
Wait a minute.
Yes. So these television companies were supposed to give up this analog spectrum a decade ago. They finally turned loose of it. And these frequencies carry a long way, and they don't necessarily have to be line of sight. And so for very advanced digital technologies running on these particular frequencies, this could actually work out well for being a distributed internet connection type of thing when we're talking about municipal Wi-Fi, citywide Wi-Fi, or especially Wi-Fi in the country. This kind of technology actually would probably work better in the countryside, where you've got a relatively low population density and relatively high costs of running infrastructure. Something like this might not be entirely unacceptable for, a relatively slow, couple of megabit, 5 megabit, something like that, internet connection, which is better than you get a lot of the time if you have a particularly rural farmhouse.
I mean, I may be inclined to take something like this if I was given the choice between this and a 4G antenna on the house. Well, the 4G antenna is going to be faster, yes, if I'm in a decent spot. But the problem with the 4G antenna is that they're going to put a data bandwidth cap and they're going to treat it just like a cell phone. So with this, I wouldn't think that they'd be doing something like that. But you never know. So I would probably go with the other one.
The difference here is that 4G, the barriers to entry are so high with the frequencies of the 4G it uses. You have to be one of the major carriers. But depending on how this spectrum is used, your local mom and pop ISP could actually buy some, let's call it middle of the road equipment. I mean, this equipment's not going to be expensive. It could be $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. But the cell tower equipment is $100,000 plus. So if you're a small ISP, in rural Iowa, and you want to do something, it is not inconceivable that you could get special radio equipment and offer your customers that. And that is what makes it better. Not because it's 4G major carrier or anything like that, but because conceivably you could get your own networking gear and, get a couple of miles of connectivity from your house to your business or from your house to the city or something like that.
Yep, I lost my mouse. Let me get it back and then we'll go on. All right. It looks like the next city to get Google Fiber might actually be Nashville, Tennessee. I think it's interesting. If you look at Google Fiber's list of the cities that they're about to roll out in, it looks very similar to the cities that Comcast is introducing data bandwidth caps in. Like all throughout the South, the Bible Belt and everything, Comcast is like, give them data bandwidth caps. And it's like 300 gigabytes or something like that. And then once you get there, it's like an extra $10 per 50 gigabytes. Really ridiculous. And it doesn't make any sense that they're doing that it's like, fiber's about to roll in here. What should we do to compete? I know, data bandwidth caps. It doesn't make any sense. It makes
perfect sense if you've got a monopoly and nobody else can buy anything.
Well, if Google comes in, there won't be a monopoly anymore. Unless, of course, they're doing that really shady business where they... Let me just bring that over here. This is an interesting article here. Next slide, or Comcast. Comcast is doing this in many markets. What they do is they pay to have an exclusive contract with a homeowners association or a building. Like if you're downtown somewhere, they'll pay the owner of the building a ton of money. They'll be like, hey, listen, give us a 6-year contract on this here building. It's got, what, I don't know, several hundred units in it. Yeah, 6-year contract, we'll give you 30 grand. And the building owner's like, we got all the other internet providers in the area. We could let them have access to this. We could let this mom and pop ISP have access to this. Or we could take Comcast $30,000 and everybody still has internet. We win and everybody else wins. And meanwhile, Comcast is going to make, $700,000, $800,000, $1 million over the next several years during the period of that contract. So that's the other thing they're doing. That's really, I don't know. That's anti-competitive, but it's totally legal. These contracts are legal. And the other way that they're doing this, as far as trying to get you with contracts, is sometimes they'll call and there'll be a sales call and there'll be contracts involved. And so you got to be very careful. This is something that they're mainly doing in markets that have more than one carrier. I mean, if they're the only carrier, they're not going to be as inclined to do something like this ridiculous anti-competitive behavior. But if you are an individual with a residence and you have another carrier and Comcast is harassing you, I kind of want to know about it because it would be an interesting story. I've heard a few here and there, but it seems that Comcast is in those markets trying to get people to sign, exclusive contracts for a long period of time. So, kind of shady, man.
It's like a citywide franchise, except on a building scale.
Yeah. Have you seen the time?
Oh no, it's RANT 30 already.
Gene Marks. Why the hell they ever allowed him to write for Forbes? He also writes for, I think, New Yorker, or is it New York Times? I forget. Let's see here. I'll tell you right now. Gene Forbes, I don't know. He writes for a couple of different major publications, and he's written some really kind of scary pro-net neutrality, anti-net neutrality arguments. It sounds as though, almost he's just allowed someone from Comcast or Time Warner to sit down at the keyboard for a little while, and then he signs it at the end, because It is absolutely asinine, and we don't even really need to get into this. He's basically saying that, hey, Netflix and YouTube combined, and when you combine them, that's almost all of the broadband traffic in the USA. It's like 40% or something crazy like that when you combine these two companies. So of course they should pay for all that money. He goes through and he just keeps talking about how they should pay for all the stuff that they're using. And he never once mentions the fact that all that has already been paid for by the users who are paying for the connection to the internet. What they view is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter if YouTube was 100% of their bandwidth. It doesn't matter. They are paying for access to the internet. You completely forgot to mention the fact that they are already paying the ISPs. So your arguments are completely invalid. You should shut up. You should go away. I cannot believe that Forbes is allowing you to write articles. And let me see the other companies that are allowing him to write articles. I'm already at the point where I just don't trust Forbes anymore. Inc.com and New York Times, they also allow this moron to write articles.
It's really horrifying because there are quite a large number of logical fallacies. But, mail delivery, a lot of the, because there's nothing like the internet, the physicist Richard Feynman always said, I do you a disservice to explain it like in terms of as if it is something else, because it is a fundamental force of the universe, and it is not like anything else. If I explain to you magnetism like as if it's a rubber band, I've done you a disservice, because that is in itself an electromagnetic force. And so it's kind of like, haha, that's funny. And for me, a lot of this kind of stuff with the internet thing is like postal delivery. I mean, you have your packets, your movie is split up into 1,500 byte packets that are delivered from A to B, and then it's assembled on your end. And so it's a lot like the postal service. When you go to Amazon and you order something on Amazon, somebody is paying for shipping. Both parties don't pay for shipping. That doesn't make any sense. The shipping company carries the package from A to B. What it is not the concern of the delivery company. The ISPs deliver the data. It is not their concern what the data is. That has nothing to do with it. That has less than nothing to do with it. If the ISP doesn't want to make their network available for certain kinds of traffic, then they are discriminating. It would be like the Postal Service saying, well, we're not going to accept these from you, these types of packages from you, because it's anti-competitive. They would have to open up the package and look at it and see what it is. And that's kind of what ISPs are doing with a lot of this kind of traffic. Certainly Comcast is guilty of that, because they did exactly that with BitTorrent and were sued by the FCC in 2007 for that. So it doesn't make sense. It's like, I'm going to order something from Amazon, and I'm going to pay for shipping, or Amazon is going to pay for shipping on my behalf, and then the Postal Service turning around and saying, oh, we're going to charge you for this again. It's like, no, this doesn't make sense. It is no more complicated than that, and these companies have done a really amazing AstroTurf job confusing everybody on the issue. But the reality is that they've already acted sociopathically. They've already broken the trust, in my opinion, and so we must not allow them to get away with this.
Gene Marks, if you think that you're so right, I challenge you to email us. Gene Marks, if you already did?
Yep, I emailed him and I was
right,
like, do you really think this? Because here's some reasons why I don't think you'll think this if you do some research.
Yeah, I want to challenge you, dude. We've got this website here. I mean, we've got like, 400,000 subscribers. That's more than Forbes, I've heard. Yeah, a lot more than Forbes. Why don't you come over here? You can talk to us a little bit. We'll have a little healthy debate, and we'll let the comments decide who won the debate. How about
We'd be glad to have you on an episode of The Tech.
It would be amazing. I would love that. It'd be the best episode ever.
It's just Google Hangouts. Nothing's crazy. I mean, I think that we've shown, I mean, as crazy as we are less insane than like the O'Reilly Factor or one of those crazy TV shows. I think that we would give you more of an opportunity to speak.
I'm going to shout him down. I'm trying to get to a position where we get paid the big bucks to go on television shows. And if you want to do that, it doesn't matter if you're accurate. You have to be able to shout people down. So you come on here, and we'll have a shouting match, and it'll be amazing. All right, let's move on. I think we've beat that one to death. Snowden, right? So Snowden, he came out and released all this information. He's a big whistleblower and all that. I'm making it sound like I don't care, but I really do. Here's what we're talking about with Snowden. So about 60% of the people surveyed worldwide have heard of Snowden, and only about 1/3 of those people have taken any steps to secure their online privacy as a result of the information that they've learned from Snowden's leaks. So, you know, I haven't actually done that much myself. I guess we moved away from Gmail finally, and I am extremely happy about that. What we were doing before was we had our, you know, our Tech Syndicate email accounts, and they were just forwarding to Gmail because I wasn't getting that many emails. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, damn, I'm getting a lot of emails. And, oh, I'm getting marketing stuff from Gmail. And I don't know, it's not my own server. It's weird. So Wendell finally put together, you know, a server.
Debian, yay Debian.
Yay security, yay Debian. So that's one thing we've done. That's a hell of a lot more secure. SSL all the way. But other than that, the other main thing I've done recently is I've started using a browser called Pale Moon. It's based upon Firefox, and it's just, I mean, it's not going to be the most secure thing in the world, but that combined with a VPN. If you want to be really secure, get a VPN and buy like 3 VPN accounts and then use each of them in tandem. Use one VPN account to get to another one, and then using a VPN account there to get to the next one. It'll just make it more difficult to track what you're doing, but every little bit helps. And I mean, just avoiding obvious things like posting, hey, check out this amazing drug deal I made right on your Facebook page. That's not probably something you should do, you know, like, hey, I hung out with my friends at this address and we and we were building you know, terrible weapons or something. That you probably, those are, you know, just obvious things that shouldn't be done on social media. You shouldn't be doing those things in the first place, right? You guys wouldn't do that, would you? You guys wouldn't do that. All right, let's move on. Unless you got something else to say about it. Anything else you've done to protect yourself?
Well, the other thing that dovetails with this is just today, you know, another Snowden leak. There's a really serious piece of malware that's been floating around the internet, and it turns out that there was some more Snowden leak stuff published today that seems to show that the United States government and the UK government is responsible for this malware. And that's really bad.
What? So, I didn't see this article yet. So that's the other thing that always bothers me about all this stuff is that, you know, a lot of these different entities out there who should be trying to help us secure our digital lives are doing the opposite. They're actively trying to destroy the security of our digital lives so that they can get access to it because they've got hoarding complexes and they must have everything. They must see everything we're doing. Why? I don't know. It's a mental problem. They're all fucking mental. So I don't even. You know what? Let's just go ahead and rant. Have you seen the time again?
Rant 31.
They're trying to actively break encryption all the time, and they're really upset about the encryption that's going to be on the next version of Android or the latest version of Android. They're really, really pissed off about the encryption that Apple has on their phones, where Apple says, hey, we've got this encryption on our phones, and guess what? We can't even crack it. So even if the government does come to us and say, hey, we need the information from this phone, can you tap into it right now? Apple's like, we don't have the keys, man. We sell these devices. They're the only ones with the keys. So here's what's happened. The Department of Justice, they've stood back and they looked at this, and they looked at the encryption, and they've come out and said, you know what? If this encryption happens, then children will die. Like, really? That's just, you just went there, children are going to die. It's now about the children, and now Apple is a horrific company for putting encryption on this. Now Google is doing the wrong thing by putting in children because, come on, man, think about the children. We've heard this argument a million times before. It's like the sexual predators are going to get the children. Now it's children will die because I guess sexual predators over in the UK wasn't enough to scare people. Now it's like, oh, they're just going to die because someone's phone is encrypted.
Wow,
That's
really
the most
horrifying.
Messed up thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah.
We're not even going to go there, but supposedly there was some reporter that worked for the BBC that came out with this and was like, yeah, we were going to report on a pedophilia ring that had a lot of prominent politicians in it, but the state came in and ordered us not to. And it's like, what? That's a developing story. I don't know if it's a rumor or not. But yeah, so those things are happening too, apparently. So this is messed up. It's like, you know, think of it. That's the most ridiculous argument. I mean, obviously, think of the children. That's why that argument is so dangerous. But this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Encryption is not anything to be afraid of. This is just somebody with a clue. Please go and hit them. I don't understand. Hit them with the clue stick, you know, so that they get a clue. That's how that works. Not a real stick, but a clue stick.
you know, you said it last week, guys. People out there watching, who would like to see a better world. You're gonna have to get involved in politics, and I know it's gonna be a ridiculous long shot because right now the whole, you know, Lawrence Lessig essay about how we live in Lesterland. Well, it's like that in most countries in the world where the elite control who I guess they select who we get to vote on with their money because only a few people can afford to run. Well, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but we're the internet and we can change things. You know, we can. Man, I'm going to get an inspirational speech. I'm not going to get into it right now because, you know, I'll get up and it'll be all exciting and everything and be like, listen, they've got all the money. We do have the numbers. And one day we're going to wake up and be like, wait a minute. We don't have to deal with this shit anymore. We've got the numbers. We're just sitting here being like, oh, I guess we can't fight them. There's one of them with all the money and there's a million of us. We can't beat them up. Yeah, we probably could if we wanted to.
It's not even the numbers. It's that we don't have our head up our ass. That's
that
really what it comes down to. If you don't believe me how bad this is in America, Google Daily Show Burn Noticed. And this is about a month old at this point, but I tweeted about it fairly recently. But it's literally it's the House Committee on Science, Technology, and Space. And they got a scientist there, and the House of Representatives are talking to him. And the House of Representatives say, like, the dumbest things that I've ever heard. And so if your representative happens to be one of those featured on the Daily Show, you should really write him an email to be like, guy, why? I mean, can we get some remedial education here? At one point, there was a guy, there was a representative that literally rationed that we would not need to worry about global warming, melting ice into the ocean and rising ocean levels, because all of the ice on Earth is already in the ocean and floating.
What I just got really sad.
There is no ice on land that would melt and go into the ocean, apparently, is literally what he said. And this is not just the House of Representatives. This is the Special Committee for Science, Technology, and Space, which presumably was selected, you know, the members were selected to be people that might know something about those things.
I'm just some idiot on the internet, and all I've got to say is displacement, man.
Well, that's what he was saying. He's like, you know, because the water's already displaced, the glass is not going to overflow, ocean levels are not going to rise, and it's like, you do realize that there's ice on land that's melting there, guy, right? I mean, that's a thing. Like, ice will melt on land and flow into the ocean, and that's more water because where the ice isn't in the water, it's on the land.
Oh God, man, I'm going to get more pissed off. Let's just look at more stuff that's going on right now. Here's a quick.
Why does this show? Why do we always do that? It's so. It's like, it's so stupid. I have to share it with you guys because if it goes in my brain, I'm going to have an aneurysm, and I have to get it out by telling you.
I'm going to go ahead and skip past this one a little bit. There's just a Gizmodo article here that you guys can go look at if you want to, you know, shoot yourself. But it's just all the, it's funny because a lot of the politicians who are very on the wrong side of the, you know, the whole net neutrality thing are actually investing in a lot of the telecommunications companies. You're like, huh? What are you guys doing? They're colluding to make monopolies and then investing. So that I'm going to skip past that because I don't want to get that angry. But let's take a look at this. There's a report floating around right now, and this is from the Wall Street Journal. And you have to get to a paywall to read it, so we can't even read the damn thing. But they're saying that now you're going to need a full pilot's license to fly a drone commercially.
Apparently. That's just silly. This is not entirely like... It's not, well, I mean, if it's a sufficiently heavy drone, I don't know that I necessarily agree with this, because in America, we've also got the amateur radio operator's license, which is not really a big deal to get.
Okay.
And I looked at that, and that's maybe okay, but these smaller drones that are just a couple of kilograms, that's really not any more dangerous than flying a remote-controlled airplane or a remote-controlled helicopter.
Well, where do you draw
the distinction? Well, yeah, I mean, no, I mean, you're right. It is tough to draw the line, and I think that they're going to err on the side of insanity because
they always do.
Non-commercial purposes, you know, you don't really need a license for non-commercial purposes. Maybe the requirement here should be that you've got insurance, so that if you accidentally fly a drone into somebody's head, the resulting civil suit will be covered by insurance and medical bills and that sort of thing.
Man, I'll just get insurance and just fly into people's heads all day. That'd be great. Like that,
well, then you couldn't get an insurance company that would insure you, so it becomes a self-correcting problem.
Yeah, they'll learn, but at least I'll have a little bit of fun initially. Then I can move on to the next thing. Maybe fraud will be the next thing. I don't know. It's yeah. All right. Qualcomm. Let's talk about hardware for a little bit. Qualcomm has turned into a monster company, and they've actually been beating Intel when it comes to mobile for a while because, the ARM and all that stuff. And Intel doesn't really do ARM that much. They got their x86. I guess they're going to be looking into some ARM stuff in the future, but they've kind of been doing their own thing with smaller devices, cell phones, tablets, what have you. Now, they're going to be kind of stepping into Intel's territory. Intel pretty much dominates the data center. The servers everywhere are running Intel. And now Qualcomm is saying, you know what? Now that we've got these new 64-bit parts, they're ARM, but we could, just have 1 million of these things running it at once. They're inexpensive. They're really efficient. If they're RISC processors, so they're going to work a little differently. But if they're programmed to do one certain thing and they do it really well and they do it all day and they're 64-bit and they're cheap, that could give Intel something to worry about. And
we've seen a few of these before.
Yeah, they're not in charge of the data center just yet, but they're looking for it. Could be interesting. Could be a fun fight.
There was I think AMD was working on something like this too, and
massively parallel stuff.
Like a year ago, we saw a board that Google was doing, and so for things like Apache or Nginx that are really high load web traffic, and to a lesser extent database traffic, although really things like MongoDB and NoSQL will be better for those kinds of platforms. This kind of thing is really good. If you've got a web server that's got 100 processors in it and that web server is supporting 100 clients, that parallelizes really well. You don't need Intel, you don't need x86 for that. But for some reason, we've covered 5 or 6 pieces of technology like this over the last year or two, and none of them have really seemed to take off. And so I didn't see anything in this one that really set it apart from any of the other ones that we covered. So I hope it takes off. It would be interesting if it does, but I didn't really see anything that set this apart from the other types of technology that we've covered that are similar. So, Intel really seems to have mind share more than technology share. And that's maybe sort of a barrier to entry for these new companies that are like, hey, let's do a 64-core ARM chip or whatever the flavor du jour is.
The other thing that Qualcomm was talking about here is they're also saying that the future will be 4K smartphones. So they're really talking about the future a lot, and that's going to be kind of interesting because 4K is the new standard, it seems, and it's not being adopted as quickly as I thought it was going to be. I think the devices are just too damned expensive, and we've got 1440p displays on a lot of phones these days, but he's saying here that 4K is going to be the new thing. So lots of interesting things to look forward to, and whenever Qualcomm talks these days, I kind of sit back and listen, because they not only do they have the power to predict the future, they also have the power to create the future. So that's where you want to look when you're listening to future, futurology stuff.
You know what pisses me off more than anything? Mm-hmm. So this can be my rant 30. So Android 5, got Android 5 on the Moto X over here. Yay, Moto X, oh my God, what's happening? Every single time they have updated Android since version 2, every single update is less emails on my higher resolution screen. So I've gone from, I think, like 320 by 480 or something like that to now 1920 by 1200. And I've gone from, like, I don't know, it was at least 10 emails on Android 2.0 on a screen because I set the font to the smallest size possible. I now have 5 emails. I have 5 emails per screen full on my phone. What?
And you have to sit there and scroll.
Why did I go to 5 emails? On the old mail app, I had at least 8, and I'd set the font size really small. I set the font size on this as small as it would go. It doesn't seem to pay any attention to that on this. There's only 5 emails on the main screen. 5 emails, and this is a huge phone. This is like, this is a mammoth phone. Why are there only 5 emails?
Have you thought about going with a different email client, maybe Aquamail or something else like that? I don't know if Aquamail does ActiveSync. I think it's IMAP, but I might be wrong. If you guys are out there using Aquamail and you know things I don't know. Is there other mail apps that maybe decent for ActiveSync? I just don't know.
I'm only interested in ActiveSync clients, and I will have to look. Historically, I've never deviated because of the stability offered from the native mail exchange client. In fact, I thought it was better than the mail client that Samsung was like, hey, let's do our own exchange client, and that was terrible. And I'm really disappointed in this. Also, really disappointed in Lollipop's calendar app. It's flaky. It acts half baked. It doesn't have the features that it should have, especially when you're looking at like weak view and things like that. Lollipop is kind of not as, I mean, okay, the animations and things like that in Lollipop are amazing. Like, it is super fast. The phone feels just like wicked awesome.
I don't know. I always turn all that stuff off because I don't like any animations.
Well, it's so, like, everything happens so fast now that it's just, it's ridiculous. I'd always turn on developer options and set animation scaling to be as fast as possible. So I still got the animation, but it was insanely fast. And on this, oh my God, 60 frames a second is nuts. It's completely insane. But all the apps feel kneecapped, at least my daily apps that I spend all my time in. Oh, so if anybody has any mail apps that aren't terrible, let me know and I'll take a look at it. But 5 emails per screen? Really? 5 emails?
I wonder how that is versus the Droid Turbo. We've got a Droid Turbo review coming up pretty soon. Bean's going to be back over here. He's got a Droid Turbo. We played around with the camera a little bit, took some 4K videos and stuff. I think that's 4K. I don't know. Albert and Bean have been working on that review, so we'll have that coming up soon, and we'll be able to put that against the Moto X, and we'll try to answer some of those questions because I think it could get interesting. All right, let's move on and talk about Intel's new 10 terabyte SSDs, thanks to their 3D vertical NAND flash memory. This stuff is going to be less expensive. And I mean, the capacities are going to be ridiculous. They're going to start off pretty low, but you know, I guess they're saying that, you know, with some of this technology, they'll be able to just deploy several of these, and then you won't have to worry about having a gazillion mechanical drives in your data center. The cost will be decent. The speed will be way better. It's a win-win for everybody. So it seems to be a decent, I don't want to say breakthrough, because it's a nice step forward. So. It's so close to being a huge step forward that, yeah, you're right, partnership with Micron. Go ahead.
Yep. I was just going to say this is a partnership with Micron. And so right now, mechanical hard drives only win on capacity. But pretty soon, you know, if this takes off, we could be looking at dirt cheap SSDs that have an insane capacity.
You know, there's fewer moving parts, and I would think that the manufacturing process may be, I guess, easy or faster, easier, better. I don't know. It just seems like it would be with flash-based devices, but I can't be totally sure. That just with fewer moving parts, it seems like it would be a no-brainer to go that way. So anyway, let's move on and talk about some science. Solar and wind energy start to win on price versus conventional fuels. Well, you know what I think we need to do? You know, I saw this stat and I was like, you know what? We really should hurry up with that damned oil. So we need to build a pipeline. I was thinking maybe like Canada down to the Gulf would be a good idea. If we can get a few more of those built, that'd be great. Sarcasm. All right, that's pretty much all there is. It's just cool to see that solar and wind energy are starting to win on price versus performance versus conventional fuels.
The reason this is really cool is not because we're going to replace, you know, oil and things in the first world, but in developing countries, they're going to go straight to wind and solar, and it's going to be really interesting. Their houses are not going to be wired for 110 volts. It's going to be wired for 12 volts DC or 48 volts DC or something like that. They're going to have LED lighting. It's really going to be very inexpensive technology that they get a lot of functionality out of. It's probably going to completely transform the first world because they're going to come up with clever ways to save resources and save on manufacturing costs. And so the developing world is probably going to teach us how to be better stewards of the planet because they're going to do better just because they don't have the resources to do anything else.
Yep. All right, you ready to move on and talk about some gaming stuff?
Yay, gaming!
I got a few things to talk about here. Sony, they're going to be making fewer TVs and smartphones, and they're going to be making more PlayStations. That's kind of a shame because their smartphones, their Android smartphones this year have been pretty damn good. But, I mean, Sony, they've been in trouble for quite a while. They're about to post a loss, I guess, of $1.7 billion according to Reuters. That's going to be huge. And they're going to be shifting their focus toward the PlayStation. So right now, if you own Sony stock, go ahead and sell it. And here's why. Because the PlayStation and the latest Xbox probably going to be the last generation of consoles. I just cannot see the console trend continuing. At least not from my perspective. It's got to move in a different direction. These integrated boxes, I guess they make some money, but I don't know. I think our phones are going to be more powerful than the next-gen consoles by that point, and then we'll just plug those into a TV and play. But maybe I'm crazy, and yeah, I don't know. Are you selling your? You don't have any Sony stock. You have none to sell.
Nope.
Were you surprised?
No, not really. Sony's always been kind of schizophrenic. Blu-ray is something that I'm really surprised caught on, because every other technology Sony invented has failed spectacularly. I mean, memory stick and the little things in the PlayStation Portable, those things. It's like, we're going to put movies on these and it's going to be great. And it's like, no, I don't think it's going to work out for you, Sony. So, like, Blu-ray is the only thing they came up with that did not absolutely crater spectacularly. Wait
a minute. The mini disc was awesome for like 45 minutes. I still have a mini disc player somewhere. Did you ever have one of those things like this?
Nope.
If you guys don't know what a mini disc player is, it came before the rewritable CD craze. So it was for people who wanted digital media that they could rewrite to. So it was almost like a DVD RAM disc. Oh man, people don't know what that is either. You guys out there who know what it is, just tell everybody else in the comments what it is. It's a disc inside of a cartridge inside of a, I don't know. So yeah, tell them what it is.
It was like a miniature zip disk or a miniature floppy disk or mechanical whirring flash memory alike, if you will. But it would only hold 45 minutes, which is not quite a full CD. So that was kind of rough.
All right, there's a very heated conversation going on our website right now about Valve VAC banning some people right before DreamHack. You know what? I'm not educated enough to talk about this. I'm going to go ahead and say that it is fun to go back and forth and read all this. I am not involved enough in this community to understand, but I do want to commend the people involved. It's a very heated, almost angry. It's not angry. I can hear the frustration in their posts. But you know, there's not a lot of really, you know, like I hate you, I'm going to kill you, or your mom is stupid and all that. It's not like that. They're actually arguing. It's getting hot, but I wanted to take this time to say, like, hey guys, you know, it's agree or disagree with either one of those guys. I think I saw one of them call the other one like an idiot once, but even then it's like you go out to have a cup of coffee with your friend, you're like, man, you're such an idiot, listen to me. So I felt like it was more of that kind of thing. So yeah. Well, I don't know. What's your take on this? I'm not educated enough to talk about this subject, so I'm not going to make a fool out of myself.
Okay, so DreamHack is an esports thing that happens in Sweden, and it's a gaming thing. It's like a gaming whatever.
It's probably one of the biggest LAN parties in the world.
Yes, and it's in Sweden, and it's a huge deal. And so if esports, like if sports is to esports as, you know, real sports are to real sports, then DreamHack is a really big thing. So computer gaming as a sport is really, really in its infancy. It's like, I don't know, tennis in the 60s or something.
Tell that to the South Koreans.
Yeah, well, it's like 300 actions per minute. What's happening?
Yeah, so, they pack out every arena.
You know, Valve has absolute control over this. You know, it's like when baseball was first a thing and they hadn't really figured out the rules for baseball, there was nothing that would stop you from taking a ball and a stick and a glove to go somewhere else and play. But with computer gaming, it's not really like that. You know, Valve, in this particular instance, it's around StarCraft, I think. Or, no, it wasn't StarCraft. It might have been Counter-Strike Go. It was a Valve game. And
CSGO, not StarCraft. Not StarCraft then.
Yeah, well,
StarCraft
we've got to talk
thing we're talking about.
Yeah, where StarCraft is the next thing we're going to talk about. So this is CSGO. And so, you know, in the beginning with baseball, anybody could pick up a bat and a ball and a glove and go play baseball, and they could do their own thing in the rules, and some rules were good and some rules were bad. And then it was like, you know, should I eat unicorn blood in order to be able to hit the ball farther? And it's like, oh, no, you probably shouldn't eat unicorn blood to make the ball go farther. We're going to call that doping and say that, you know, people taking drugs to enhance their performances is bad, and we don't want to do that. And so with this, you know, Valve is very anti-cheat, very, if you do anything even questionable, they will ban you. And so they caught somebody with a cheat, and they admitted to cheating, but they didn't admit to cheating during a game. They were just experimenting with a cheat. And so we don't really know what their motives were. And the motives is what is important here, I think. And there's more to it than that. That's not even the whole thing. This is sort of a nuanced, multi-layered thing.
Let's go back to the rules. The rules, black and white. You know, you get VAC banned, and that's it. You're done, because the software detects when you're cheating, and that's just the way it works. It's in the rules. You cheat, you're done. You're banned, and that's what happened. And I guess another problem that everyone's talking about here in the comments is that there's no information provided regarding the ban. It's just you are banned. That's it. No details, no reasons, no explanation. You were caught cheating according to the VAC software, you know, the VAC anti-cheating software, and you're banned. So Zoltan here is calling upon Valve to, you know, hey, Valve has to know some of the details here. Why can't they share the details of the ban?
There are two additional wrinkles here, though. One is that the software that was part of the cheat was apparently available for sale in the Steam community store. So Valve was themselves selling the cheat, apparently, at least through the store. Now, that's the third-party thing, so that's not exactly true, but that's kind of true. And the second thing is that they also disqualified the entire team, not just the guy that was admitting to cheating.
Yeah, and that's where we get to the point where I'm like, I'm not involved enough with this to open my mouth and say something intelligent enough that I won't be an idiot. So I'm going to kind of leave it alone and keep going through the comments. And you know, I'm not as involved in the competitive CSGO world. I don't really keep up with it as much.
There's more going on here than just a simple violation of the rules. You know, Valve's lack of transparency, you know, on the one hand, there is the argument that you know, how they detect the cheats or how they know that cheating is happening cannot, by definition, be a transparent process. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that in this case when we're talking about it from the perspective of esports. If we're just a couple of guys playing online and goofing off in CSGO, maybe. But this was a tournament with a $250,000 stake. It's esports. Esports is kind of a new thing. When this was happening with baseball or tennis or anything like that, you know, there were independent commissions set up. You know, referees were set up to look at this. It wasn't one company owning the entire industry. And the nature of computer gaming is that it is one company owning the entire industry. These guys that have been VAC banned, it's not like they can pick up and start playing, you know, the game over in their own sandlot. They're not going to be able to do that because Valve owns the games. Not only that, there's the platform. The interesting thing that you might look at is we've got this other link to this StarCraft thing, and this is StarCraft AI. This is StarCraft 2, so it's not online, and it's a really interesting research project that has been used by grad students all over America. And so an AI was developed to play StarCraft 2, and it actually came up with some effective novel strategies for playing StarCraft 2. Now, VAC would totally pick that up as a cheat because it's a computer program manipulating the software. But what if it was done for R&D purposes? What if the software was used to look for, you know, to look for a new way to play or to look for new strategies or things like that? In this particular case, the cheat software that was sold in the Steam community store, you would actually have to go through a rigmarole when you're starting the game and entering a key code and things like that to actually use it. So it's not like it could have been used surreptitiously during a tournament or anything like that. So it's really a gray area. And I think that this does merit a second look. A lot of people are like, you know, Valve is in the right. They've totally done things here, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know that I can agree with that completely just because of the esports angle and the money involved and that sort of thing. So it's not something that you can look at and be like, oh, this is totally crystal clear. I don't agree with that. I think that it does merit further consideration. It
seems like the arguments you have going on right now are the people who are chaotic and believe that, you know, hey, the rules are black and white, but let's be pragmatic here. Let's look at things from a different angle and let's actually fix the problems. And then you've got the people who are lawful, you know, to bring alignments into this, and they're like, you know, I understand your point, but the rules say this, and that's what happened, and then let's leave it alone. If they didn't want to get banned, they shouldn't have ever clicked on anything that could have been even remotely construed as a cheat. And yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing in the arguments, and we're seeing personality clashes between those two different sides, it seems. And there's a lot of explanation back and forth, so pretty interesting little argument here. Someone actually emailed me and they're like, man, this is getting hostile. I'm like, you think? I was like, it looks to me like they're just standing their ground and refusing to you know, give in to the other side, but they keep going back and forth. It's funny.
Discourse is civil discourse is the foundation of our society, and a lot of what's wrong with a lot of the first world governments in Australia, America, and the UK is that dissent is somehow something to, you know, be mad about, and that's not the case at all. Dissent is what makes society amazing. If you can have a logical argument with somebody and see their point of view, that's what makes being human great. It's the demonization of dissent that has happened. It's like, oh, that's not patriotic, or are you a terrorist? Those kind of things really undermine civil society, and we should not fall into that trap.
Speaking of discourse, stay tuned after the credits for a bit of a talk about some ideas. I know only the guys who really care about the website are going to be sticking around until after the credits, so we'll see you guys there. I think that's pretty much the end of the show, right? That's pretty much everything, yeah. We covered everything.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, we'll see you guys later. I want to say thanks again to all the tech support members. You guys are making our brand new office that we're going to move into sometime soon very possible. But you know something? I always make sure that we give you guys something back. So if you guys haven't heard of tech support, it's our system where you guys can help give back to help. It's helping. You guys are helping us help you to help us to help everyone. It's a big pile of beneficial helping.
You're directly funding videos and staff to do things.
Yeah, and in order to do that, all you do is click on the screen over here, and it lets you become a member of tech support. You can pick, like, to buy us a beer or a coffee per month. That's it. And then all the ads on the website magically go away, so we're giving something back to you guys. An ad-free experience on the website, unless you're already using ad block, you bastards. I'm not being funny. I'm angry with you guys.
That makes me sad.
Oh, ad block, we all use it, don't we? We do. Turn it on if you're not gonna, guys. If you're not gonna donate, consider turning it on because it helps us keep the lights on the website, and that's important. Anyway, stay tuned after the whatever this thing is that's gonna happen right now. Credits, that's what it is, and we'll see you there. Now, for everyone who's still watching, we've been thinking about upgrading the forums to make them a bit more modern and that sort of thing. I mean, Drupal forums. The idea with Drupal is that you basically build whatever you want if you have the time and the money, and that's what we thought we were gonna do, but it's just. It's taking up too much time. And
the thing with Discourse is that it's almost pure JavaScript, and it does have a Ruby backend, and we might deal with that, blah, blah, blah. But mostly we would be using the front end, and we would be integrating with what we already have. So it really is, 90% of Discourse really is JavaScript. So it runs in the browser.
There's a lot of Ajax as well. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to be...
right?
Well, no, it's well, I'm not sure, but the reality is that it's a lot more in the browser, and so it's not going to be tolerant of older browsers, and it's not going to be tolerant of older Android or older iOS. But it works pretty well on mobile, better than what we have now, and it seems like it'll be possible to incorporate it. The trickiest thing will be importing the old data. But it seems like we'll be able to have, you know, your login for the site will take you there. And one of the hoops we got to figure out is commenting on stories. But in terms of a forum replacement, it seems like it'll work pretty well. So
let me show you guys a little preview of what we'll get with it, just to see what you think. Of course, it's got a like system. It has a plug-in system as well. If you wanted to do upvotes and downvotes, we could probably make that happen. But I think the likes work well. You can filter by things that have the most likes. It's got a trust system, which is nice, meaning that, you know, the users who... over time have, you know, the most trust of the community get extra features and can help moderation. It's open source, which, you know, means we can install it ourselves. We can host it ourselves. We're not going to be beholden to some company, which is a big deal for me. I do not want to be forced to rely on somebody else's servers and that sort of thing. There's just a lot of stuff that it does. I'm going to go over here and just give you an idea of some of the things that you can do, because they actually use this for Turtle Rock Studios here. This is the forum for Evolve, the game that's coming out. I believe it's in alpha right now. So here's what it would look like. So imagine this would be the feed, right? And here's all the latest. You can arrange things with latest top categories. Hey, let's look at what's the top thing going on today. What's the latest thing going on today? And then categories. This is like the list of forums that you would have. Or you can actually click on categories over here and get more of a standard forum view that you're used to. Like, hey, here's all the forums available. So that's pretty cool. Then it gives you tons of interesting information about each person. You know, you click on the avatars. It shows you who's involved in the conversations. Let's go ahead and click on one of the conversations here to show you some of the cool things that happen inside the conversations. It's got, you know, nice little summary thing right here. This is for each post. It's like, hey, here's all the topics. Here's all the, here's all the information about this topic, how many views it has, how many people have been commenting. If you click the drop down, it gives you a lot more information. And let's say everyone, you know, in here is just posting a bunch of links. Well, if you need access to a certain link, it aggregates all the links posted in the entire post into the top post here. So you can just click the drop down and go through all of the links and find the one that you're looking for. That is extremely handy. Then you have a button that summarizes this topic. It goes and gets the topics that are like the most upvoted and the most read, I guess, and just summarizes the topic by showing you those. It'd be really handy for long topics. All right, once you get logged in, I'll show you what that looks like. Ours will look a little different here, but yeah,
we're special.
Yeah, you got notifications up here, which is extremely handy, and you can go in and set the settings for your notifications. There's a nice messaging system for private messages. So there's just a lot of stuff that you can do. Click on the preferences here and you guys can see it is a very slick system, a very modern system, and there's just a lot that you can do with it. So we're thinking about moving over to that. Let us know what you think, because your opinion is important, because it's where you guys hang out, you know. I think it'll be a step into the future. And once you guys see the way the commenting works and that sort of thing, the way the replies, you can do quotes and replies. It nests the replies. There's just a lot a lot of different ways to talk. So, yeah. Let us know what you think. We'll see you guys on the website.
Never thought I'd see your resonance cascade.